Hello, my friends. I wanted to relay a funny story. And yes, might as well have fun laughing at my expense. Yesterday, I went to go get my hair cut. Now, keep in mind, I have friends that are beauty salon people, you know, and I've seen people get their hair cut many times or hair colored or whatever. But I showed my total ignorance yesterday when I went to go get my hair cut. And long story short, they had changed things around, and I was looking around and I saw these space age looking things. Really, really high backed leather chairs that had these little pads of buttons all over them on both sides. It looked like some kind of control panel for control seat for Star Trek or something. And at the bottom there was these fluted looking basins at the bottom, and I thought, aha, I'm smart. That's for pedicures. And I verified it. I asked about it, and she said, yeah. And I said, you know, my sister has been telling me over and over and over again, you got to get a pedicure. And I thought, well, today's the day. So I think in my little mind, I'm going to stick my little feet in that bucket, and then she's going to do her little magic diddy on my toes, and then I'll get up and walk out with nice feeling feet. Well, let me tell you, I had a little education that resulted in the entire salon, thank you very much, laughing their butts off. Yes, I am not exaggerating. I'm telling you, keep in mind the whole time I am totally ignorant. I'm not playing this up at all. I am just totally ignorant. So I sit down at this seat, and I take my shoes off, and I don't know whether to put my foot on the little thingy where near her knees, or if I was supposed to put my feet in this basin thing. And she starts filling this water up and putting these little crisp things in there, and then the light comes on, and it's this neon blue water, and I'm like, this is kind of cool, but this is weird. So anyway, and then the thing about it is this lady was Chinese and didn't speak a word hardly of English. And so so she's like, and I'm like, she's doing this with her hands, and I had picked my foot up, and I was like listening to her really intently, and I was like moving my foot along, trying to follow her hand, because I didn't know where to put my feet. Finally, she just grabs my foot and sticks it in the basin. And I'm like, oh, now I'm smart. I know what to do with my other foot now. So anyway, she gets to doing her thing, and she gets all this goop out and all these bottles and stuff. And I'm like, what in the heck do you need all this crap for just to do a little pedicure? Next thing I know, she's rubbing this stuff up my legs, and I'm like, oh, I could get used to this. This is like a massage and stuff. And I'm like, cool. So she goes, blah, 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 blah. And she gets up and she leaves. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just sit here a while and chill and watch everybody. Well, then by this point in time, I realized that everybody that was cutting hair down the little skinny place had turned their chairs, and they were watching me. And I was like, oh. Hello, everybody. This is my first time getting a pedicure. Can you tell? And they all went, uh-huh. So the next thing you know, this lady's coming out of this room with two big clear bags. And it had pink stuff in it. I'm like, what the heck is with the pink? Why does everything with girls has to be pink? So anyway, I was like looking at the bags, kind of curious as to what she's going to do with them. So she plops one down on the cart, and the other one she just like opens up like a fish bag or something, and puts her hands on either side, and she's like blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like looking in here like I'm going to see something different, but even though the bag is clear, like I'm going to see something different, and I'm like totally just looking into the bag. And the lady next to me says in a Boston accent, she hadn't got her, she was waiting. She had this little dog, white dog, with a mohawk. I kid you not. This little white dog with a mohawk. Seriously. She says, "You don't get out much, do ya?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I don't." She says, "Put your foot in there, would you?" And by this time, the lady had grabbed my foot and stuck it into the bag, and it was hot. And she starts like molding this hot wax, is what it was, around my feet. And I'm like, "Oh, this kind of feels good," but it was still kind of a shock, you know, to put my foot in like hot wax. So anyway, I'm like, holy cow. So I'm like, okay, and then she puts my foot on this little thingy, this little platform thingy that's by her knees. And so I'm like sitting there like, you know, queen. And right about that time, she gets up and she goes and leaves, and blah, 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 you know, and this lady comes in the shop and lays down in this thing where they wash your hair, and it's kind of laying across me, in front of me, and she's like laying down, and the person that did my hair came up, and she pulled up this cart, and she had this little popsicle stick, you know. I'm like, what the heck is she gonna do? What? So I'm like watching my feet in these bags, feeling totally ridiculous, and she starts painting around her eyebrows. Now, I am honestly, totally clueless as to what's going on. And then she opens this drawer, and she takes these big square things, and she stretches it across her her eyes and around her eyebrow and stuff. And then she just jerks it off, and the lady just she hops up just about that out of her chair, and I'm like, oh my God, she's ripping her face off. It's just like what it felt. It was just like my first initial reaction is this poor lady is just, you know, and it finally dawns on me that her eyebrows are getting ripped off her face. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's how it happens. I'm like, holy cow. And I just stood out. I guess the expression on my face was enough, because the lady next to me again says, you really don't get out much. You really need to get out much, a little more, because this is normal, And I'm like, no, it's not normal. It is never normal to go and pay somebody to rip your eyebrows off your face. I mean, just to me, it was just like, hello? And about this time, this lady comes back in, and she comes up, and she's just boop, 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 boop on the keyboard, and and all of a sudden, these things in the seat start massaging me, and I'm like, all over the place. Oh my God, I am not exaggerating. These little hand things, I guess, that were in the chair were like, and I'm sitting here feeling like I'm doing this thing, Oh my gosh. So she's like, blah, 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 and she walks back out, and I'm like, what the heck? And by this point in time, I'm like totally empathetic with this lady, and the lady getting her eyebrows ripped off her face, and she gets up with a smile. And I'm like, there's something just not natural about this. So the next thing you know, I look up, and this lady that's working on my feet is turned with her back toward me, talking to this lady, and I kid you not, all I could see her coming out of her head was smoke. That is all I could see. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm losing it. I am totally losing it. I am totally ignorant. I have totally been traumatized. I couldn't get my head out of the fact that that lady just paid somebody to rip her eyebrows out. And and then here I am seeing this lady's head smoke. And she turned around finally, and she had these folded up, hot, steaming towels. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm not insane. I did see the smoke, but now it's not smoke, it's steam. I get it. Okay, cool. And then it dawned on me, well, what's she going to do with them? So she sits down, she puts one on the thingy in front of me where my feet were, and I quickly feel like they're really hot. So the next thing you know, I'm like totally, my whole lower legs were totally wrapped up in these towels. So I'm sitting there with casts, I feel like casts all over my lower legs. I'm thinking, holy cow, people are not going to believe what kind of experience this has been for me. And the next thing she knows, she's like, blah, 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 and I'm like, what? And the lady next to me says, yeah, pick a color. And I look up, and there's total wall full of nail polish. And I said, I don't think so. Pink, and most of it had some kind of tinge of pink or bright whore red. And I'm like, this looks good on a lot of people, and it's great, and I'm really excited that they like it, and I like it on people, but to think of putting that stuff on me, I don't think so. And I told her, I said, I don't think so. Can you please tell her that I'm a natural kind of person, and I would really appreciate it. And she starts laughing, and she says, just pick a clear color. And I said, do I really need this stuff? And the next thing you know, everybody in the salon, seriously, everybody in the salon was going, yes, you do need to do this. Yes, you do need to do this. Okay. So this lady gets up out of her chair, and she goes over there, and she picks like 8 or 9 colors, and she comes over there, and she puts them in front of my face. She says, all of these will be mostly clear. And I said, which one's the clearest one? And so she gave me this gold one. She says, do this one. So finally, I get all that put on, and I walk out of that place paying $35 to totally traumatize me. I saw that lady that got her eyebrows ripped off of her face right outside. She was waiting for her husband and with her kids. And they were talking, and I was like, and you really pay them to do that to you? And she just rolled. She absolutely rolled. She said, yes. And, her face was like all red, Oh, my gosh. So, anyway, that was my experience getting out. I love you guys. Create a great day.